afternoon and welcome to SuperScreen News at 12. I am Olamide Omoga. President Muhammadu Buhari says his administration's response to the February 19th abduction of the 110 students of Government Girls Science and Technical College, Dapchi, Yobe State, was better than the response of the last administration to a similar abduction of the Chibok girls in Borno State. The president said while the federal government under his watch swung into action immediately after the abduction, the last administration looked the other way when the Chibok girls were abducted in 2014. President Buhari disclosed this at a town hall meeting with traditional and community leaders and other stakeholders in Damaturu, Yobe State as part of activities lined up for his official visit to the state. The House of Representatives says it will override President Muhammadu Buhari's veto on the Peace Corps bill he had earlier rejected. The chairman, House Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Abdul Razak Namdas, who disclosed this, said the House would override Buhari on 9 other bills. Namdas also said the National Assembly had begun the process of overriding Buhari's veto on the 10 bills. The implication of this is that the lawmakers will pass the bill into law without Buhari's assent if the upper chamber of the National Assembly tread the same path with the House. Now, report says senators loyal to President Muhammadu Buhari have started collating signatures of their members as part of efforts to frustrate move by the Senate to veto the electoral bill. Some all-progressive Congress governors have intervened to ensure that the Senate decision to override Buhari's veto power and the passage of the amendment to the Electoral Act is not successful. Buhari had written to both chambers of the National Assembly on his decision to withhold assent to the controversial Electoral Act of 2010, which seeks to reorder the sequence of polls in a way that the presidential election would come last during the general elections. 2 soldiers, 2 mobile policemen, and about 23 others have been killed by suspected Fulani herdsmen during a fierce battle at the Donkasa, Rafiki, and Dusekura communities in Basa local government area of Plateau State. 2 civilians were killed with houses razed and cars burnt during the attack, though the Nigerian Army only confirmed the death of the 2 soldiers. The Director, Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Texas Chukwu, said even suspects had been arrested while a number of weapons were recovered from them. The Army said 23 dead bodies were also discovered in Marababa area of the herdsmen opened fire on the troops' convoy and the residents. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says the commission has succeeded in prosecuting 160 electoral offenders. This information was disclosed by the chairman of the commission, Mahmoud Yakubu, during a public hearing on a bill seeking to establish a National Electoral Offences Commission.
At the public hearing, Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mahmoud Yakubu, said his commission has gotten 60 convictions from the 124 case files received from the Nigerian police on 2015 elections. Yakubu said the establishment of the commission will help INEC focus on handling huge prosecutorial tasks as well as manage time and resources during and after elections.
In spite of the constraints, we have successfully prosecuted some electoral offenders. Arising from the 2015 general elections and subsequent by-elections, we received 124 case files from the Nigeria police. The consideration and passage of this bill, in a sense, is long overdue. At present, INEC is saddled with the responsibility of prosecuting electoral offenders. The objective of the bill is to address issues relating to the coordination and enforcement of all laws in Nigeria relating to electoral offenses.
Stakeholders at the event said the bill will go a long way in providing solutions to electoral offences in line with international best practices, a view corroborated by representatives of all security agencies.
We have observed elections across the country for several years, and one of the most glaring impunities we saw happen in several of elections in Edo State, in Anambra State, where monies were brought to polling units and openly distributed to voters to secure votes. It's become a culture among candidates and political parties to carry money to polling units.
Certainly, if this is considered and it passes through, it will be a very welcome, very welcome development to see that the hallowed chamber of the Senate is really looking towards improving our democracy and improving the electoral process.
Worthy of note is that Clause 21 of the bill, which deals with punishment and incapacities for electoral corrupt practices of undue influences and bribery, prescribes a 10-year jail term for offenders. The bill also has a total of 45 clauses.
A federal high court in Abuja has approved the hearing of a suit seeking to sack the national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, APC, John Oyegun. The suit was filed on March 8 by 4 members of the party who told the court that they are aspiring to run for leadership position in the APC. The defendants are challenging the extension of the tenure of the incumbent holders of executive offices of the party. Aside from Odiji Oyegun, the plaintiff urged the court to compel others to vacate the positions at the expiration of their current tenure. And away from that, the non-academic unions of universities, which began an industrial action since December 4th of 2017, has suspended its strike. The chairman of the Joint Action Committee of the unions, Samson Ugoke, disclosed this at a briefing in Abuja. Samson said, based on the extensive consultation with their various organs, they hereby announced the suspension of the strike action embarked upon by JAC with effect from March 14th. The JAC comprises of the National Association of Academic Technologists and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Education and Association of the Senior Staff of Nigerian Universities. The National Youth Service Corps Presidential Honor Awardees of 2012, 2013 and 2014 has embarked on a peaceful protest in Abuja, alleging that out of 164 corps members given presidential awards, only 74 were sent on scholarship. The group added that the presidential awardees are yet to be given automatic employment, alleging that all efforts to harness the scholarship prove abortive, with some students still being stranded abroad.
Out of 164 awardees that were awarded, 74 are presently doing their PhD degree. They are done with their masters, but we are here, we've been abandoned. The remaining 90 are crying, and they are calling on the federal government to come to our aid. You may wish to know that every day, every year, the federal government sponsors scholars from Nigeria to overseas for scholarship. And we want to also call on the federal government to come to our aid. A directive that was disregarded should be revisited. We want to call on PTDF. We want to call on NPA. We want to call on NIMASA to heed to the directive given by the president.
We have been on this struggle for over 3 years. Nothing has happened. We are appealing to our president, our father, the father of the country, to please intervene. Our knees are on the ground. Please, he's our father, the father of the country. If his directive will be disregarded, who else will give directive in this country? Who else? Nobody.
An early morning fire outbreak has destroyed at least 22 shops at Yankatako Market in Rigia Lemo area of Kano State. The public relations officer of the State Fire Service Saidu Mohammed, who disclosed this, said the incident happened at about 3:10 a.m. Mohammed said the cause of the fire is under investigation. He advised traders at the market and other residents to be more careful and desist from using instruments capable of triggering fire. He also advised the people to keep fire buckets, blankets, and fire extinguishers that would enable them to control the fire before calling on the fire service. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll show them some stories from the business world. Welcome back, and now for some business stories. Contrary to the federal government's target of increasing crude oil reserves, the country recorded a decline of 961.47 million barrels in 4 years on the back of low investment in exploration of oil. The latest data from the Department of Petroleum Resources showed that the oil reserves fell from a high of 32.23 billion barrels in 2012 to 31.27 billion barrels in 2016, while the condensate reserves stood at 5.47 billion barrels from 4.91 billion barrels in 2012. The federal government in 2010 set the target of 40 billion barrels of crude oil reserves and a production of 4 million barrels per day by 2020, but exploration activities has slowed down in recent years. Industry stakeholders have continued to raise concerns as the regulatory uncertainty in the industry has resulted in fewer investments in new oil and natural gas projects and the lack of licensing round since 2007. Still in business, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Ibe Kachiku, says the modular refineries being planned for the Niger Delta area is not meant to address fuel scarcity in the country. According to him, the idea behind the proposed refineries is to provide jobs for those currently engaged in illegal refining in some communities within the region. Kachiku disclosed this during a post-Federal Executive Council meeting press conference at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. He also said modular refineries are not supposed to be a form of theft. He said the modular refineries are on the average between 2,000 and 5,000 and maybe 10,000 barrels per day at most capacity per refinery, a consumption of about 630,000 barrels per day. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, will on April 3, 2018, commence the enforcement of its recently unveiled meter and provide the regulations a policy that seeks to bridge the widening metering gap in the electricity supplied industry. It was gathered that the country's metering gap had increased to about 4.74 million as power consumers welcomed the new policy, describing it as a panacea for meter unavailability. In its March APR 2018 with regulation number NERC 112, which was released by the regulator and obtained by journalists in Abuja, the NERC says the regulation shall come into effect on the 8th day of March 2018. NERC also said provisions of these regulations shall be enforced by the Commission from the 3rd day of April 2018. And now the Senate has lifted its embargo on the confirmation of presidential nomination. The development clears the course for nominees for the position of Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and members of the Monetary Policy Commission, MPC. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Banking, Rafi Ibrahim, raised the point of order during Tuesday's sitting, urging the lawmakers to lift their embargo on the confirmation of appointments by President Muhammadu Buhari, which, according to him, is negatively affecting the economy, a view which was unanimously approved by the lawmakers.
So I want to appeal to our colleagues. We have three requests regarding Central Bank. The board of the Central Bank, the deputy governors, two deputy governors who are also members of MPC, and MPC members who are majorly in the private sector, in various sectors of the economy that are members. MPC is a creation of the CBN Act, which is autonomous. It's not run by the board of Central Bank. but it's very, very important. Each meeting of every 2 months is important for the economy. As it is today, it's already affecting the foreign direct investment to Nigeria. Some foreign portfolio investment are already leaving, some that are supposed to come are not coming. So we just want to appeal that we take only the aspects that affect the Monetary Policy Committee, which is the independent members and the two deputy governors that are members of MPC, so that the MPC can continue to sit to direct the affair of the financial sector, which is the heart of Nigeria's economy.
A wise man is a man who has to change his mind if he has to. So I think it is important that we reconsider our stand in respect of our earlier resolution on confirmation and be able to probably make an exception in respect of the issue of MPC. Sometimes a man, first of all, the essence of marriage, or one of the essence of marriage, is to have children. So, and that's why, because of the importance of children in marriage, when a man and his wife is quarreling, they still have children. So, I believe that it is important that we make this exception so that our economy will not collapse and the international community will continue to have confidence in our economy. So I support this motion.
For the 3 years I have stayed here with the privilege of being the Deputy Senate Leader, there was never a time that this Senate has failed or neglected to act in pursuance of that commitment. So in view of this, I think it's a very straightforward motion. I will only seize this opportunity to thank my distinguished colleagues for giving us that very, very rare cooperation in that line.
In his ruling, the Senate President, Bukola Saraki, directed the Senate Committee Chairman on Banking to complete the process of screening in a bid to give the necessary support on the issue.
Confirmation process for the 2 deputy governors and the members of the MPC. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, let me thank the Chairman of Banking for bringing that up. Let me also particularly again acknowledge and thank my colleagues for the statesmanship role you continue to play. This has been a chamber that has always been for the issue of the economy, and for us to do all it takes to continue to ensure we see investment, ease of doing business, and give confidence, and that is what we're doing here. In as much as we continue to defend the institutions and the democracy and the constitution that we're all sworn by, it is time that also we look at the priorities and understand what is important. So the Senate Committee Chairman of Banking, please ensure that you complete that process so you can give the necessary support in this issue of MPC and the Deputy Governor, so that the Central Bank continue to play its own role in the economy. I thank you.
You're watching SuperScreen News at 12. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll take some news from the foreign scene and some sports stories. Stay with us.
Before they come, they're supposed to, give us some information, notice, at least maybe a week or so. There was nothing like that.